Hello everybody, RoyalRapids here, and welcome to a Pokemon Heart Gold Hardcore Nuzlocke with only normal types. If you want to know what the rules for this Hardcore Nuzlocke will be, please check the description below. So, without further ado, let's get into this. We have quite a few normal type encounters in this run. We have Pidgeot, Raticate, Furret, Wigglytuff, Girafarig, Stantler, Miltank, Tauros, Farfetch, Kangaskhan, Gramble, and Ambipom. We lock ourselves out of two potential encounters, being Persian and Ursaring, by playing Heart Gold and not Soul Silver, but ultimately we have a wide variety of Pokemon to choose from, and without further ado, let's get into this. So, we're going to pick our starter, which obviously doesn't matter much at all for this run. I ended up deciding to go with Totodile, just in case I want him for HMs later. Ultimately, we do have to use Totodile for a little bit, as we can't catch Pokemon right away. Ultimately, we bring in I Don't Care the Totodile to take out our rival's Chikorita. For some reason, I decided to leave this in. Ultimately, we go pick up his name tag off the floor, or his trainer card for that matter, and we decide to name him Poop. Why? I don't know why, I just felt like naming him Poop. And ultimately, we go to get our real starter here, a Sentret off of Route 48, I think, and ultimately we decide to name her Rocket, basically our true starter in this run. So we head into the Cherry Grove Pokemon Center and we decide to deposit I Don't Care the Totodile, as we don't need him on the team. We don't have any HMs that we need him to use yet. And ultimately we run into our next team member, a normal and flying type Pidgey, who helps us breeze through Sprout Tower easily. We go up here and Poop is acting up like the poop he is. Ultimately he escape ropes out and we go ahead to face the Elder of the Sprout Tower. He leads up for the Bellsprout, who Birdie, yeah, uncreative name I know, takes out the Bellsprout in one hit. Ultimately he sends out a Hoot Hoot, who he managed to gust down to red health, but then puts to sleep with Hypnosis. So we switch into Rocket, who takes it out with one more quick attack. Ultimately, he has one last Bellsprout, and two quick attacks from Rocket get the job done. Then, here we are, up against the first gym leader, Falkner. This is a battle I was somewhat afraid of, considering the fact that, we didn't have anything strong against him, but ultimately, I thought I was going to have to sacrifice Rocket in this fight, but he ends up clutching out with a really good Fury Swipes, taking out, Falkner and getting us the Zephyr badge. Now, we get an egg here from this scientist, who actually turns out to be pretty useful since this egg hatches into a normal type. Now, what is that normal type, you ask? It's Togepi, who we named Tamago. Yeah, another somewhat uncreative name. Is it just egg in another language? But hey, route south of there, we get a Rattata, who we add to the team, and we name Bruh, because I'm the most uncreative person in the world when it comes to naming. But hey, that's what you get when you sign up for our RoyalRapids Hardcore Nuzlocke. Ultimately, now here in the Slowpoke well, we're taking on the executive here, and we have Bruh the Rattata hit a couple nice quick attacks there, but he gets poisoned, so we then have to switch him out into Rocket. Rocket then lands a clutch Fury Swipes, but gets poisoned again. Ultimately, takes the coughing down to a sliver of health, but we end up switching in Birdie, who also gets poisoned, but lands a hit for the win. While grinding to the level cap, we got Rocket to evolve into a Furret, and now here we are versus Gym Leader Bugsy. Now, you'd think this would be easy since we have a Pidgey on our side, but believe it or not, this is actually one of the most difficult gym battles in the challenge. His Scyther, which I believe is base 535, is ridiculously powerful for this early in the game, and my team struggled to deal with it. Ultimately, Bruh goes down to a quick attack from the Scyther, not even stab, just took it down that easily with the high attack stat it has. Ultimately, Birdie comes in, hits a couple gusts, but ultimately she goes down to one quick attack. Rocket comes in, hits a Fury Swipe to take out the Scyther, but we lost two team members against a bug-type gym leader. Yeah, not the best start to the run. Ultimately, we're now just left with Rocket and Tamago, but ultimately, on the route near Azalea Town, we run into a Spearow, another normal and flying type, which would fit as a pretty good replacement for Pidgey. Ultimately, got lucky that we were able to run into this one so soon. We train up Joe for that matter, the Spearow, and we go to take on Poop, who leads with a Ghastly. But luckily, Spearow has Pursuit, so it does a pretty good job of taking out the Ghastly. Also takes out the Zubat, and a couple Aerial Aces get the job done against Bayleaf, taking down Poop. A little while later, we head into the Ilex Forest, and we get a guy that can teach our Pokemon the move Headbutt, base 60 power stab normal type move for all of our Pokemon. Will be pretty good, and we teach us the Rocket ultimately. Then again, back in Azalea Town, we use Headbutt to get our next encounter, an Apom, who gave me the utmost trouble in trying to catch it. This thing is level 4, so I couldn't damage it with any of my team members besides Tamago. But ultimately, this thing just would not get in the ball no matter what I did. I ended up sending in Tamago to hit an extra sensory, but we almost lose him in the process to a stupid Apom. Ultimately, with one Pokeball left, thank God we managed to capture this thing. I was on the verge of resetting at this point with how bad of luck we had with Bugsy and now with this Apom. But ultimately, we add him to the team and we name him Steve after the GOAT Minecraft Steve. Hey, potential hardcore Minecraft Let's Play coming in the future. Who needs hardcore Nuzlocke when you have hardcore Minecraft? If you guys really want to see that, leave a comment below. Ultimately, now here we are in one of the most evil gyms in Pokemon history. Gym leader Whitney leads off with a Clefairy, who Steve has a couple of stab headbutts to take down into red health, ultimately breaking through a tract to get the kill and learn Fury Swipes. Ultimately, then in comes the Miltank, so we have to send in Joe here, who tries to land a couple nice aerial aces. Ultimately, it's not really even putting a dent in Miltank whatsoever. We get brought down to 6 HP, so we have to send in Rocket, who luckily is also a female, cannot get attracted, and takes out the Miltank. Whitney then cries that she doesn't want to give us the gym badge, but eventually she does give it to us, and we get our hard-earned 3rd Johto gym badge, earning the TM for Attract in the process. Actually a relatively painless battle. I mean, yeah, we had 2 team members get down to red, but not too bad. Joe evolves into a Fearow while training for the next level cap, and we run into our next team member, a Stantler. This isn't a Pokemon I'm necessarily excited to use, and it also has a hard time catching it, but ultimately 4 Great Balls gets the job done, and we name him Rudolph. Now here we are in the Burn Tower, taking on Poop. He leads with a Ghastly just as always, and Rudolph puts it to sleep with a Hypnosis, landing a couple hits for the win. Now in comes Bailey, who will Reflect and poisons Rudolph, ultimately. We decided to switch into Joe. He was able to land a couple clutch aerial aces to take down the Bayleaf, although he is poisoned now, so we switch out on over to Steve, who is able to land a few Astonishes. Actually, he's not able to land any Astonishes. They keep getting sand attacked. Ultimately, we land a few Headbutts here, and as we break through Parafusion to get the win. Ultimately now, we have to switch out into Rocket to go against the Zubat. Zubat, pretty weak Pokemon ultimately, as it is unevolved, as we take down Poop for the 3rd time this journey. Now here we are in the Kimono girl's place as we run into a Rocket Grunt. Rudolph one-shots the Coughing with a Stomp, and we get ourselves the HM for Surf, one of the non-normal type moves that we can actually use to hit Morty's ghost types. Ultimately now here we are up against a Morty. We lead with a Rocket, and he leads with a Ghastly. One Surf KOs the Ghastly, which I didn't think was going to happen. Ultimately, Rocket wants to learn a move, we decide not to, and in comes the Haunter, who I believe its only attacking move is Dream Eater, and we managed to hit a couple of those where we break out of sleep and hit a Surf. Ultimately, in comes Rudolph, who managed to hit a couple attacks to take out the Haunter, and now in comes Gengar, who mean looks Rudolph. I thought this was the end for her, to be honest with you, but Rudolph manages to break through Sleep and a lot of other things, managing to hit a few Astonishes and take out the Gengar. Last up is Haunter, who also mean looks Rudolph, but she lands a clutch Hypnosis, a couple sand attacks, and a War of Attrition through Hypnosises and Astonishes gets the job done. And Rudolph, Pokemon I didn't even want to use, had some massive clutch moments in this fight and managed to earn us our 4th Johto Gym badge. Ultimately, now, hey, you may hate Whitney's Miltank, but you ain't gonna hate it when we get a Miltank of our own, because, hey, the tankiness will come in useful later on the run. See, using Milk Drink already against us, we decided just to Great Ball it, and ultimately, we eventually do add it to the team, although I get really uncreative once again and name it Bruh, not realizing earlier in the run we legitimately had a Rattata already named Bruh. I am actually one of the stupidest person when it comes to naming in the world, because I just don't have any ideas, especially in a Nuzlocke. I'm just trying to play, not get too attached to these Pokemon, because we're eventually going to lose them. And ultimately, Rudolph's Hypnosis has actually been extremely useful in this run, much more than I expected. We get another encounter up too, a Girafarig, another clutch encounter, because we get to use the Psychic type. Not a type you'd think of paired with the normal type, but Girafarig, the only normal and Psychic type Pokemon in existence as far as I know. I'm probably forgetting something. I don't think so, though. Ultimately, Rudolph's Hypnosis has proved to be so clutch in this run. I did not care whatsoever about Stantler, but its Hypnosis has been so clutch in getting a status move that our team severely lacks. Ultimately now, here we are up against the Red Gyarados, and we literally cannot fight this thing. It's higher level than all of our team members. I just wanted to get the experience share, so I tried to headbutt it with Rocket, realize, man, this ain't happening. We switch into Steve, who has Runaway, and we get on out of there, pick up the red scale, and trade it into Mr. Pokemon to get the EXP share, so we can actually do some grinding on our bad team members like Tamago, who evolves into a Togetic. Ultimately, now here we are in Cianwood City, taking on Eugene, the man obsessed with Suicune himself, and I was training up Psycho, the Girafarig, so I decided to lead with it. We get put to sleep, ultimately get hit with a Confusion, which does nothing, and a couple Stomps gets the job done. In comes Haunter now, who goes down in one Psybeam, not one Psybeam, 2 Psybeams for that matter. And in comes the Electrode, and he lands a Thunder to kill Psycho. Yeah, that's not good. We had a normal and Psychic type, and we threw it away. He lands another Thunder on Steve, which paralyzes. This man is like the god of hitting 75 accuracy moves. Ultimately, hits another one on Rocket, but a Headbutt gets the job done. Ultimately, it really sucks to lose Girafarig, because I was really counting on it for this fighting gym. I thought this was the end of the run right here, but somehow, through weird strategy, we managed to get through. I lead Apom, was able to hit a couple tickles on the Primeape. I spent so long strategizing for this battle. Once I hit 2 tickles, I realized we are now in range for Aerial Ace to one-hit KO through the double team since it can't miss. Ultimately, Bro goes to level 17 in the process, and he sends in Poliwrath. We then have to switch out of Fearow into Rudolph, who we have to use as a sacrificial pawn. We survive Surf, we try to get a Hypnosis off, but he hits his own Hypnosis, and it kills Rudolph with a Focus Punch. Unfortunately, he was the least valuable team member at this point. In comes Tamago. I figured I could encore him into a bad move, but I end up encoring him into Body Slam. But Tamago manages to survive on 5 HP. I couldn't get off a charm due to paralysis, but we managed to get Steve in there, who takes 2 body slams, hits a couple tickles. We were dead to crit. We survive on 3 HP to be able to bring in Joe, who lands a couple aerial aces to get the win. You will not believe how much I strategized for this, and we managed to only get out of here with 1 death. I needed Psycho the Girafarig so bad. We did not have him. Ultimately, here we are now against quote-unquote Giovanni here in the Rocket Hideout. And we go up against Executive Petrol, who leads with a Zubat, who wing attacks our Rocket, but a couple cuts eventually get the job done through confusion. Now, in is going to come Coughing. Coughing, I don't believe has self-destruct, at least not in this battle. So we decide to stay in and land a Headbutt, which brings him to about half HP. After getting confused, we get hit with an Assurance, but we break through to hit a Headbutt. And I don't know why I didn't switch out here. We easily could have lost Rocket to crit, but ultimately I guess I was just being stupid. I decided to do Miltank, who takes a hit, hits a Stomp, and takes out the Coughing. Now, last but not least, is Eradicate, who we decide to hit a Strength against. An 80 power move, not a bad idea. We take 2 Hyper Fangs, get him into the yellow. He has to go for Sucker Punch for some reason, which didn't do any damage at all, and Bruh defeats the Eradicate. Now here we are, later in the den, we're going to take on Executive Ariana, and also our Rocket Grunt teamed up with Lance. For some reason, I don't know why Lance is a level 40 Dragonite when the opposing team member literally has a level 18 Drowsy. They really wanted to make sure you couldn't lose this fight by giving him a level 40 pseudo-legendary, which illegal, by the way. It doesn't evolve to level 55. Ultimately, Dragonite annihilates that Drowsy with a Stab Fly. We headbutt the Arbok. Ultimately, this battle, like I said, I don't know why they decided to make it so easy. The Johto games have to be some of the easiest games because of how open world they are. It's like most of the trainers are literally like level 15, even around the 7th gym. It's really hard to gain experience. Ultimately, the jankiest level curve in all of Pokemon. But ultimately, with the thanks of Lance's level 40 Dragonite, we pretty much just easily blow through the entire team. We switch to Joe just to make sure Gloom doesn't kill Apom. We take an Acid like it's nothing, and Dragonite one-shots it with a Fly, getting us the win over a Rocket Executive Ariana. And now here we are against Pryce, who, although he is technically the 7th gym leader, his level cap is 1 level lower than Jasmine's at 34. Jasmine's level cap is 35. Ultimately, this battle is more of a war of attrition than anything, as we use Miltank to basically Milk Drink stay alive and just land hits on his Pokemon. Piloswine and Dugong are both really, really tanky. But ultimately, we have enough Milk Drinks to survive, take out his Seal, Piloswine, and Dugong after just constant rest spam from him and Milk Drink spam from me. For some reason, I'm stupid and I decide to Christian Joe, but he survives an Aurora Beam. That was probably one of my dumbest plays of the run, and mind you, I had a lot of dumb plays in this run. But ultimately, after a very, very, very long war of attrition, you're watching this at 5 times speed right now. It took us forever with all his rest spam and my Milk Drink spam, but ultimately we get a couple crits eventually, and through all of this, oh my god, we eventually get in Rocket, hit a crit, and get the win. Apom evolves to Ambipom, and we run into a interesting trainer on the road to the Safari Zone. Ultimately, outside the Safari Zone, we pick up our next team member, a Tauros, which we named Spike, and we're finally back to a full team of 6. Ultimately, now here we are up against Steel Trainer Jasmine, who has 3 Pokemon, 2 of which are a Magnemite and 1 is Steelix. But this is the luckiest battle of all time. They teach Tamago Fire Blast, and it lands 2 in a row, one-shotting both Magnemites. Now you might think, that's stupid, you're not going to do that again. We land one against the Steelix, healed with a Citrus Berry, and we land 4 straight Fire Blasts to take out Jasmine. I'm honestly kind of upset that we did that. We got so lucky and nailed 4 straight Fire Blasts, making up for our bad luck against Eugene. Now here we are up against Petrol once again, and this is one of the trolliest fights in Pokemon history. He has 5 Coughings and a Wheezing, all of which have self-destruct. So this can be a complete Nuzlocke killer if you're not careful. Luckily, I have a very tanky Pokemon in Miltank and a Psychic-type move in Zen Headbutt. So we can basically plow through all the Coughings and Wheezings and try to use Milk Drink to stay healthy and stay out of self-destruct range. Ultimately, I decided to switch into Tamago because I realized that Coughing has worse special defense and physical defense. And we have extra sensory on Tamago, which we can basically use just to annihilate the rest of these Coughings and not have to worry about self-destruct. Like I said, it is such a trolly fight for him to have a bunch of Coughings and a Wheezing and just be able to go kaboom whenever he wants. Ultimately, clutch win by Tamago. And now we head over to the Rocket basement to take on Silver, or Poop for that matter, for the 4th time. He finally evolved to Zubat to do a Golbat, but we have a clutch Miltank who lands 2 Zen Headbutts to get the win. But his Spike goes to level 24 and wants to learn Payback, which is pretty good. It's good to get a non-normal type move, especially to damage ghost types. Payback doubles in damage if you get through the second in a turn, I believe. Now it comes to Meganium, his starter, who we use Body Slam on. I guess I did kind of cop out by giving him the worst of the 3 starters, although Meganium is a very tanky support Pokemon, and we wouldn't have been bad against any of them because they're all pure type, you know, water, fire, and grass. Ultimately, Meganium lands a couple Petal Dances as we get Brawl low, and we switch in Joe the Fearow, who's low-key been the team MVP so far, especially in that Chuck fight. Ultimately, Meganium hits itself in confusion, one more aerial ace gets the job done. In comes Magnemite. We can switch in Tamago, who is the Magnemite Roaster, but instead we go for Steve, who is now an Ambipom and has Technician, so Rock Smash is boosted from 40 power to 60 power, which actually gives us the solid fighting type option to take on Rock and Steel types. He leads in Sneasel. Rock Smash is obviously the best option as it's 4 times weak, but we decided to stay in, although we're dead to crit. We take a Feint Attack, don't get crit, and break through the Paralysis to get the kill on Sneasel. In comes Haunter, who is a tricky one as we don't really have much to hit ghost types. We switch in Tamago, get mean looked, but he curses himself, basically making him instantly dead to extra sensory and earning us a victory over Poop for the 5th time. Now here we are in the onslaught of Rocket admins as we're in the radio tower. We take on Proton here, who leads with a Golbat. First time since the Slowpoke well. We hit him with a double hit, which brings him down into the red and ultimately get over a headbutt to finish him off. In comes Wheezing now, who's very tanky, but a couple headbutts should get the job done. We get our accuracy lowered, hit a double hit, the second one crits, and we take down Wheezing. And that's it for Proton. Now we go and pick up the Ultra Ball beside him, and we head up to the 2nd floor, which we decided to take on Executive Ariana. This is our 2nd fight against her, and she leads off with an Arbok, who intimidates Steve. Ultimately, we decided to switch out into Tamago, who gets glared and paralyzed. We had to stay in, take a crunch, get our defense lowered. Extra Sentry brings it down to half. Even with lowered defense, I don't think we were dead to crit, so we stay and hit another Extra Sentry and get the win over Arbok. In comes Murkrow, who switches into our own bird, Joe, who lands an Aerial Ace, brings him below half, takes a Wing Attack, and takes out Murkrow with one more Aerial Ace. In comes Vileplume, who's weak to flying. We land an Aerial Ace, he misses a Sleep Powder, and we get one more Aerial Ace to get the win over Vileplume. Like I said, we were dead to crit a lot of times in this run, but I apparently did not seem to care. The only fight I really strategized for was the Chuck fight. I kind of find it more fun when you go into things blind. Now here is Executive Archer, who leads with a Houndour. Pretty much the only time we'll see one in this run. We get burned, which is super unlucky. Halves our attack power, makes Fly do nothing as we decide to switch into Rocket, who we really haven't used much this run, but Rocket does have Surf. Does a decent amount of damage to Houndour. 2 Surfs get the job done. In comes Houndoom, its evolved form. Now I decided to switch out here as Rocket is low as we go into Bruh. Bruh's pretty much our best option for anything in this run because of its tank and healing ability. We got a lucky Paralysis with Body Slam, Milk Drink to heal back up, and a few more Body Slams gets the job done versus the Houndoom after healing up a few times, and by a few times I mean once. Ultimately, Spike goes to level 29, learns Zen Headbutt, which is actually a pretty good move to have, so we have Dark and Psychic coverage to go along with our normal coverage as well. In comes Coughing, who's relatively weak at this point. We dealt with hella Coughings at this point. A Zen Headbutt flinches them, a second one brings them into red, we get smoke screened. Ultimately, we miss our Zen Headbutt because of the smoke screen. We miss another Zen Headbutt. It's only 90 accuracy, so that's bound to happen. As we did Steve, who gets paralysis, by paralysis I mean poisoned, and we take out the Coughing, finally finishing the dumb Rocket storyline, which takes so much time in this game. After a while, we go through the Ice Path, pick up Waterfall, and run around the Johto region picking up Heart Scales to teach our team members new moves. Ultimately, we teach Steve Thunder, which takes down the Gyarados. We Nasty Plot and hit a Thunder. It does nothing. As we have to switch into Rocket. Rocket takes out the Dragonair, and in comes Kingdra. This is going to be a tough battle as it almost takes out Rocket. Spike comes in, does nothing. We have to switch in Miltank. Like I said, Miltank is our answer for everything. This is a really long battle as we had to just heal a lot with the Miltank and hope for misses to PP stall. I hate resorting to strategies like this, but ultimately we have to wait for a Hyper Beam so that we could get through the recharge turn and get through the Kingdra. Ultimately we had to get out of Bruh. Thank you for your service. Claire's all like, oh, you don't get no gym badge, I don't respect you as a winner. But we end up going to the Dragon's Den, we answer a few questions, and we show Claire who the real Dragon Master is, even though we're actually a normal type trainer, but don't tell anyone. Ultimately, yeah, he's like, oh, you like weak Pokemon? Oh, good for you. Claire's like, what? There's no way you pass this. There's no way. You're lying. Ah! And she gives us the Rising Badge. Whitney and Claire, such crybabies, but also such difficult gym leaders, so hey, I guess they're allowed to be crybabies. What can I say? Now, for literally the hardest battle in the game, bar none, we have to take on all 5 Kimono girls without, being able to change our lead or heal in between matches. And like I said, this is harder than any Elite Four, any champion, anything. This battle is ridiculous. We get through the first 2 without any casualties. First 3 for that matter, but now in comes Jolteon. We switched in Spike, who gets off the Intimidate, but Jolteon's a special attacker ultimately. Bruh tries to stall and gets the win. Now for Vaporeon. Vaporeon, a very tanky Pokemon. We switch into Tamago, who has Magical Leaf thanks to the move relearner. We go into Joe, hit an Aerial Ace, but we lose Joe to a Surf. I knew we were going to lose someone, but it really hurts to lose Joe. Ultimately, we go to the Safari Zone, and we catch our encounter there, being a Kangaskhan. Should be a heavy hitter. We name her Zilla, and we move on to the top of Bell Tower to find Ho-Oh. Ho-Oh is not a normal type, and it's also a legendary, so it's not allowed by hardcore Nuzlocke rules, even if it was a normal type. Nonetheless, I wanted to show you guys this cutscene, because it's one of my favorite cutscenes in all of Pokemon. On the DS, having Ho-Oh fly down on top of the tower and challenge you to a battle. It looks very good for the DS hardware, and I commend Pokemon for being able to do that. If only they put that much effort in nowadays. Ultimately, we just run, because there's nothing we can do. Anyways, we take our first steps into Kanto, and we catch our final encounter of the run, a Doduo. I'm not going to use this thing, so I just name it Duo, because I'm going to go in with these 6. And now for our final showdown with Poop. Poop wants to take us down one last time, but we need to prove we're better than him. Here comes Zilla, who fakes out the Sneasel and lands an Icy Wind to lower our speed. Ultimately, we end a Dizzy Punch, brings Sneasel down to red, and he lands a Feigned Attack. Doesn't mean anything though, as we land a Dizzy Punch to take him down. In comes Golbat. And Golbat, interesting, he doesn't have a Crobat. They like to keep my man weak. He lands an Air Cutter on Steve, which does nothing, and a Thunder brings him into red, paralyzes him, and Steve finishes him out with a double hit. In comes Meganium, his starter, and we decide to go for a double hit, which brings him down below half. It's a Reflect Up, so it's not going to be easy to do any more damage. I just had a Nasty Plot for some reason, as he synthesis up into the red. We get to +6, then I forget that Ambipom sucks. It has special attacking. I don't know why I even taught it Nasty Plot. I figured I could do some fun strats with it. I didn't have Baton Pass on it. Ultimately, go to Tamago, our only flying type. We had to teach Fly, because rest in peace, Joe. Takes out the Meganium with a Fire Blast. In comes Magneton. We break through Confusion and hit Fire Blast. I swear to God, Tamago has to be the greatest Fire Blast hitter of all time. We break through Confusion twice, hit a Fly. Ultimately, now up against Kadabra, we go to Encore it for some reason into Psybeam, which would have been really stupid. I really don't know what I was thinking in a lot of these fights. Take it down with one more Fly. Go to level 46. We decided to not learn Double Edge. In comes Haunter, his final Pokemon. We look like we're together this Deathless at least, which is good. In comes Bruh. He curses himself, which pretty much seals his fate as a Zen Headbutt finishes the job, and we finish off Poop once and for all. Unless we did a pretty good job against him in this run. I don't think he killed any of our team members. Now we decide to go and pick up the TM for Return, which is a 102 base power normal type move if you have full happiness. Assumably we do have full happiness, considering our team legitimately has not died at all. This is a Nuzlocke challenge. Ultimately, we look through the team one last time as we head forward into the Elite Four. Now, I think this is going to be a kind of a difficult Elite Four. Our level cap's only 47. Lance's Dragonite go up to level 50, which... by the way. Anyways, here is Elite Four Will, who leads off with a Xatu. He U-turns out into Jinx, but a couple paybacks from Spike gets the job done. In comes Xatu, Steve finishes him off, and we hit a U-turn to switch into Rocket. Rocket hits a couple Shadow Claws, which we taught it with the TM we got from Morty. Also, we could bring in Bruh, hit a Body Slam, get the Paralysis, and chip away to take out Executor. In comes Slowbro. We had a Fly, which does absolutely nothing. He spams Curse, although he has no physical moves, don't tell him. We Encore him into Curse, basically locks him into just raising his defense more than he already can. And a couple double hits from Steve. Overtime takes out the Slowbro. In comes the second Xatu. And a couple Thieves get the job done, getting us our first Elite Four win without casualties. Now here comes Koga. Fire Blast God Tamago hits 2 in a row as we had a few more extra sensories on his Muck. Ultimately hanging on with 39 HP and switching out into Bruh. Bruh lands a couple Zen Headbutts to take out Muck. In comes Venomoth. 2 Zen Headbutts take out Venomoth, and in comes Crobat. Koga actually has a pretty solid team, but ultimately, at the end of the day, he is Koga. He brings down Bruh pretty low, so we switch in Rocket. Rocket hits a couple surfs, but is our first casualty of the Elite Four. Rest in peace to our starter. You served us well. Now here's Bruno. Bruno leads with a Hitmon top, and obviously a fighting type Elite Four member is not good for our normal type team. And Bruno sucks in the Kanto games, although he is slightly better in the Johto games as he gets a Hitmon top and not a second Onyx. Onyx gets a cross chop and a revenge to take out Tamago, our second casualty. Spike comes in, tries to clean up with a Zen headbutt, gets the job done. In comes Zilla, who lands a couple of crunches on the Onyx, who has pretty poor special defense. I forgot this is Gen 4, crunches physical. We heal up Bro with a few milk drinks against the Onyx, who's extremely weak, ultimately landing a body slam to get the win. Last release is Hitmonchan. We milk drink, we take a Thunder Punch. Ultimately, yeah, I don't think he has any fighting type moves on this, and we finish out the run. Now, here is Karen, our final Elite Four member. We lead with Spike, who gets a payback on the Gengar, but dies to a Focus Blast. That's a really tough loss, as Spike was our return user. The rest of this fight does not go too bad, but Focus Blast has 70 accuracy, mind you, 75 accuracy, and Gengar just blasted one right in our Tauros' face. Ultimately, the rest of the team manages to finish out the job. Umbreon tanks a few hits, but Bruh, Steve, and Zilla are the only ones left standing. Now, the title of this video, can we beat a hardcore Nuzlocke with only normal types? The answer is no. I did the calcs. We cannot outlast Lance's 3 Dragonites with only an Ambipom, Kangaskhan, and Miltank. So I decided, screw it. We're going full item mode because I want to see the credits roll. Can we beat a hardcore Nuzlocke with only normal types? No. But can we beat a Nuzlocke with only normal types? Yes, we can. Ultimately, I am not proud of this run. I made a lot of stupid mistakes that I probably should have been punished for, but I wasn't. I got really, really lucky in a lot of fights. I probably should have died many times. I should have wiped them many times. I didn't strategize much at all, and ultimately I'm sorry for that. I want to bring quality content to you guys, but I figured I got too far in this run with hardcore rules to just scrap it. Let me know if you guys want to see me do an attempt at this again. Like I said, I had to spam hyper potions to stay alive because I did calcs and there's no way, even with Blizzard on Zilla, it's a bad special attacker, I had to just spam full restores to even stay alive. Ultimately, I had a lot of good Pokemon in this run. I had Ambipom, I had Miltank, I had Tauros, Kangaskhan, I had Fearow. There was a lot of, variety in Pokemon. I mean, we had a lot of pure normal types and normal flying types, but I just completely didn't even pay attention to Electrode's moveset and just let my Girafarig die. I made a lot of bad plays in this run, and I barely managed to survive this run, even while spamming healing items. So, ultimately, I really want to thank you guys for watching if you got to the end. I really appreciate anyone who gets to the end of these runs, and we managed to survive with only Steve left over. So, I cannot beat a hardcore Nuzlocke, but hey, at least I can beat a Nuzlocke, and that's more that some can say. So, once again, I want to thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in whatever comes next.